Hey guys, check. Just getting this thing checked out and ready to go here so we can get going on this podcast. So I think we are good to go. So we'll get this thing started. All right, guys. So welcome back. I know it's been a while. Man, it seems like it's been a long time, and I apologize for that. But we are back, and I got a good one for you guys today. Hopefully, some information that you guys will take with you and apply to your lives here as we move forward. And what better way to start out the first episode of this year? This is season 3. So if you are new to us, welcome. If you are someone who has continued to follow me and our group and our team and what we're doing, welcome back. Thanks for following. And if you find any of this information helpful or useful, please share with a friend. Let them know, especially if they're asking questions about some of these things. But I wanted to talk to you guys about the expectations for this next year and what to kind of expect in real estate, in our industry, in our market. When I say our market, I'm talking about Omaha, Nebraska. But I think a lot of this stuff will carry over into things that are happening around the country. So you guys will be able to relate with that. I wanted to first start off by just giving you a statistic. And that is appreciation last year in Omaha was about or around 12.9%. So that's crazy when I think about just that number and what it's going to mean for moving into the spring and in the summer. And then also it got me thinking about, okay, so what does that number actually mean, and what are some of my thoughts of some pros and cons that may weigh into that as we move forward, and things that I've been seeing that have been happening, and then how it's going to relate to our market and things like that. So I wanted to kind of speak into that. So 12.9% is like crazy to me, thinking about that. So basically what that means is if you bought a house last year and you've been in it a year, your home has typically appreciated, in most cases, at least anywhere from, I would say, 10 to that 13%, at least here in Omaha. So that number is kind of what Nebraska was in Omaha was like 12.9%. But all over the country, like, those were really high. There were some places that were up 25-30% in appreciation, which is crazy to even think about. Like, I thought Omaha was nuts, thinking about some of those places that were getting anywhere from 23, 25, 28, 29, 30% in appreciation is nuts. And so that would be tempting not to sell and hold on to your property if I was in any of those states. But I wanted to talk about why that may have been taking place, what we've been seeing, and what that holds for our future, right? Because there's a lot of people that ask me now, like, okay, 2021's over. What are you thinking this next year is going to bring, right? What are those expectations? And again, I just want to make this clear. These are just my opinions and my observations of what's been taking place in our industry and our current market here. So take it for what it's worth. But I will say this. We all can probably agree with this first one that I'm going to talk about, and that is inflation. And so we see this in gas prices. We see this in grocery store visits. We see this when we're eating out. So what do we need to make of this, and will it change, right? And so, again, I want to make it clear, I'm not like an economist, nor do I have any knowledge or claim to have any knowledge that's happening with our economy, but I can tell you what I've been observing, and that's what I'm going to go off of. So when you have cargo ships sitting in the ocean or being sent back to where they came from, in my opinion, that's a problem. And that's a big problem. Why? Because I think the same thing is happening in our market. You have supply and demand issues when that happens. When you have a shortage of something, it will go up in price, right? And so, like I've said before, gas, food, clothing. I mean, how about cars right now? Like, we've all seen that. I've talked to numerous car salesmen that I know, and they said it's just crazy. If you drive by any car lots and you just observe, like, you see that there's not many cars on the lot, right? And the guys that I've talked to have said that they've been selling stuff 15 to 20% over what the value should have been on some of those cars, which is nuts. But people are still buying them, right? People still need cars for transportation. And you could probably say that the same is for the houses, right? Like the houses have been increasing and things going crazy when it comes to multiple offers and things that we've seen. And a lot of times you scratch your head or you say, wow, I can't believe that actually wrote up for that, or that was the actual agreed upon price and things that we got to on this contract. But it is what it is. That's what people are willing to pay to get that. So supply and demand plays a huge part in how the market will set up. And so as that's moving us into this next thing, you know, like cost of living and what people can actually afford plays into some sort of effect too, right? So what I saw last year was some of this happening. So think of it this way. If appreciation keeps trending in such a fast and high trend, it could force some first-time home buyers out of the financial bracket that would allow them to purchase a home that they want, right? I think we're already starting to see this, and I've said all along in the past like 2 years, like this has been one of my biggest fears, is that as things continue to appreciate and go up so fast and so quickly, it's great if you're a seller, and it's great for some other people, but for most people, especially those that don't own a house and that want to get into a house, it's not helping them out, because what is basically happening is as these appreciation things start going up and these multiple offers start happening, a lot of these first-time home buyers don't have a lot of money to play with, right? They have enough to do 3% down, and they have a little bit left in the bank to maybe go over that a little bit, but not a lot. And so what I've seen happening is that it started to price these first-time home buyers out of the market. And so sometimes that's kind of scary. The other thing that comes along with that, you've probably heard me mention this before, is when we have people that sell in different markets, right? So as I mentioned, those places that, you know, we're at 25, 30, sometimes 35% appreciation where they've sold in those markets, and then they move here to the Midwest, they have a lot of cash now to play with. And so you're seeing a lot more cash offers come into play in multiple offer situations as well. And a lot of times I wasn't seeing that when I first got into real estate like 8 years ago. But now I'm seeing cash offers all the stinking time, it seems like. So it's crazy. Like if I look back at just the past 5 to 10 years of homes that I've owned in Omaha and look at what they're selling for now, it sometimes when I'm looking at some of those, some have gone $40,000 to $100,000 more than what I paid for it just 5 or 10 years ago. So that's crazy, and this is what always makes me chuckle inside when I have a first-time home buyer with me and they bring their parents and along, and I hear their parents making comments say, or even sometimes the buyer will say this, to be like, you know, the seller is asking how much money for this house when they just bought it like 2 years ago or 5 years ago or whatever, and now they're asking this X amount of dollars more than what they paid for it. And I always chuckle because I'm like, yeah, but a buyer's willing to pay for that. And a buyer's going to be willing to do that. And if they're not, then they're obviously going to have a price deduction and you're going to see that come down. But isn't that how investment works? Right? When you guys like think about investment, you want to buy something and then sell it for more later, right? It's the same thing with houses. You know, I got to tell you a funny story. You know, just recently, I'd say in the past couple of months, my kids have really got involved with Legos. And as we've been talking and working through Legos and building things with them, I started to figure out, as I literally went on Facebook Marketplace, shout out Facebook Marketplace, and I found some Legos to give to them to start playing with. And I went and met this young kid that was selling them, and he was with his mom, and I said, so what are you going to do with the money? Just kind of like joking around. And it wasn't much. It was like $40, $45, somewhere in there. And he's like, I'm going to go buy this Iron Man Lego figure. And I was like, what? For $45? That's it? And he's like, yeah, he's $45 down at the Minifig store. And I was like, this kid is crazy. What is going on? I got to figure out what this is all about. So I literally walked into this this Lego store, this Lego minifig store, and I get in there, and believe it or not, they sell these little Lego minifigures. Like literally, I'm talking about the minifigures that come in those boxes when you build stuff, like those little guys, right? Like Iron Man and Batman and all these other guys, right? And I start talking with them, and we start looking at different things that they have. I mean, there's thousands of them. The guy told me there's more Lego minifigures than there are people in the world. So if that gives you an idea, there's a lot of them out there. Okay, and so basically we're walking through this, and we're talking through like the Lego stuff, and I'm like, so this is crazy. Like literally, like some of these Lego minifigures are like $75, $100, even more. Like most of them that are in the store are anywhere from, you know, $10, $12 to $35, $40. But still, it got me thinking. I'm like, dude, these things were probably like $3 back in the day, or a couple years ago when these were made, and now like the demand for some of these specific figures are going up, and so people are paying crazy amounts. So literally, I hopped on, you know, like just the internet, and I started searching for some of this stuff and looking into it, and then it was like there's different things, you know, like there's some on eBay. Like if literally you go onto eBay right now and you type in Lego minifigures, you'll see people selling them. Some are even going for over $1,000 for one Lego minifigure. Yeah, it's crazy. Some even $2,000, $5,000. Like there's this crazy one, not to get too involved, and then I'll move on here. But you know, there's this set of like Iron Man and Captain America from like 2012 that was given away. 100 and some were made, and they're going, like one guy has both of them listed on eBay right now for like $5,000. So I'm like, what in the world? Like $5,000 for these two little minifigs, which is crazy. But again, that's how investment works, right? Supply and demand. There's a big demand right now for that type of stuff in the Lego world. What about like baseball cards? That's another one that I was like talking to a guy from our church. He owns a shop here in town, and we were talking, and he's like, man, like ever since COVID, like things, you could basically add a zero to the end of the things that you had prior COVID and what they're selling for now. And I'm like, man, this is just crazy. So things continue to like go up, right, in value in certain things. And so what I want to basically make clear is it only matters what a buyer is willing to pay for it right now. Like that's literally what it is. So when you hear comments of people like, oh, I can't believe this house is worth this, or people are asking, well, like if a buyer's willing to pay for it, then they're willing to sell it for that, and they're going to sell it for that, right? It's the same thing in the housing market. So your house is only worth what a buyer is willing to pay for it. Doesn't matter what updates you made, where it's located, what it's priced for. You know, like again, I just mentioned this earlier, but like I have wrote down this question of like, have you heard of eBay? Like, try to think of that with the list price of a house right now. Like literally the correlation there is like this house, you need to look at this house as far as like, this is like a house being up on eBay. There's going to be a lot of bids on it, and if people really want it, it's going to go over the bidding price of what was set there. Like some people can actually like set a price when they go and they like put something up on eBay, like, hey, it has to at least sell for this amount. And in most cases, they're going well over that amount, right? Because they've priced it in a way that like is going to create that interest and to get people more bids on that thing that they're trying to sell. And it's the same thing in this market, is that people are aware that there are a lot of multiple offers that are taking place. And in some cases, in 2021, for example, we had one that we got, one of my agents got. You've probably heard it in previous podcasts if you've been listening, but they paid over $50,000 over the list price to get this house, and there were like 26 offers on the house. And so there were a lot of other things that were involved with that offer that allowed them to get that. But literally, like, if they would have went into that situation and said, like, wow, this is just way too much for this house, I can't believe anyone would ever pay for, like, they're not going to get that house, right? They went in with the mindset knowing that, like, if we're going to go get this house, then we've got to be willing to go up to a certain amount or be willing to give up this certain thing in order to get in the mix of all these multiple offers. That's the crazy thing. Okay, so The even more crazy thing that we've seen and that I've talked to other people about too is just confirming what I've seen in the luxury market. When I say luxury market here in Omaha, we're talking over $1 million, right? And we've seen a lot of multiple offers taking place this last year, more than we ever have before in the past. And they're multiple offers, and they're going for hundreds of $1,000s over the asking price in the $1 million range. Because people get in a multiple offer situation, and then obviously as you're dealing with $1 million home, you know, you can't go $50,000 over the asking price. You're talking about going $200,000-300,000 over the asking price if you want to get that house. It's just nuts. But another crazy thing with that is like you're seeing a lot more cash offers again, where you're like, where is this cash coming from? Again, it's coming from those outside markets, and what we're starting to see is people moving to the Midwest from the coast, and so they've got a lot of cash to play with, and so they get a lot more, right, to being here in the Midwest than they did out being on the coast for the price. And so you have to understand that buying a home works differently nowadays than it did in the past and that it has in the past. You have to start looking differently than when people bought houses 5, 10, even 20 years ago. So it's a completely different market, and it will be moving forward in the future because I don't see things changing anytime soon, at least here in Omaha. But after looking at national statistics, I don't think you can expect anything different anywhere else in the country either. Like everywhere else in the country appreciated in value this last year. So again, I think we're just continuing to see this trend that's happening. So like now, as I've talked about some of the cons, right? Like let's talk about some of the pros, right? And what I believe is that there's never been a better time to buy or sell your home than now. Like you'll get more for your home than you ever would have before in most recent cases, and in most cases. And you will invest in a home that will appreciate a lot faster than homes have ever done before in the past. So there's like, yes, you'll pay more for this home, but it's also going to appreciate a lot faster than what you've been used to in the past. And so I tell people that because a lot of times I think people get caught up into thinking that like, oh, this house was listed for X amount of dollars and we paid, you know, $20,000 over the asking price to get it. How long is it going to take us to get that money back? Well, that really doesn't matter because your house is only worth what you're willing to pay for it. So if you think that house is worth $20,000 more than the listing price and you're willing to pay for that, then you got what you wanted, right? But also, that thing's going to continue to appreciate, and like here in Omaha, at 12.9% this last year, you'll start seeing that money get made up a lot quicker, where it just takes a couple, 2 or 3 years before you've made that money back, and now everything that you're making is just instant equity that's going back into your pocket. So I think it's a perfect time, in my opinion, to buy and sell a home in this current state, in this year going forward. Take advantage of some of the things. So again, I'm gonna touch into some of these things as well, as far as some pros here. So, you know, what I hear a lot of times is like, well, what about a recession, right? Like, are you scared about a recession with the inflation, with all this other stuff? Let me just pull up something that I found here. It's some calculations from S&P, Case-Shiller U.S. National Home Price Index, and they kind of broke down some appreciation here. So 1990s recession, which was July of 1990 through July of 91, there was a negative appreciation rate of negative 2.9%. Okay? Then follow with me here. Then you had the dot-com bubble, which they said was from March 2001 to March 2002, and you had an appreciation rate of 6.8%. So we jumped to 6.8% there. Then the Great Recession, which we're all aware of, January of 2008 to January of 2009, that's when we had like the huge crash, all this kind of stuff. Appreciation rates on average there, they're saying negative 12.7%, which we all know, right? But here's the interesting thing. COVID-19 recession. So they're saying from March 2020 to March 2021, there was an appreciation rate of 13.3%. That again goes to confirm the numbers that we saw, at least here in Nebraska, that are pretty close. But they're saying things appreciated in that year. So in this COVID recession, 13.3%, right? Again, I told you Omaha was like 12.9% as we were going with that. But with that being said, you guys now know what I'm going after here as far as what I think about a recession. So if there's going to be a recession, right, I think we're going to start seeing a lot of these other things take effect on people, like the cost of food and groceries and gas prices and all those things. And then you start seeing the trend downward, which we haven't seen. So even though we've had COVID and we've had all these other crazy things happening in the world right now, we still see home prices increasing in value all around the country. So as far as us and the team, like, we set record highs in both the number of homes sold and the amount of volume sold, obviously, in 2022 and 2021. So there's been this huge increase that we've seen. And so again, if there was any sort of recession or there was any sort of thing where we see the housing market going down or whatever, like, a lot of those numbers would probably be going down as well, or we'd have to be selling a lot more houses in order to make up that difference. And we just haven't been seeing that. So that's a good thing, in my opinion. The other thing is new construction. Like, a lot of people see this as a negative thing, which there are some negative things that are coming with new construction. But I'm telling you that it's taking longer to finish homes. But I'm telling you, if you're thinking about building a home in the near future, I think now's the time to get a contract locked in. And here's why. We saw lumber prices go up. We saw windows, plumbing, electrical, everything else increase as well this last year. The reality is this is the new norm for a while when it comes to new construction. So my advice to you is don't try to save and then try to build later, if that's what you've been thinking. Because if you can afford to do it now, I would suggest doing it now. Because if you put a contract together today, you still have a year or so to save. Like, in most cases, most builders, at least here in Omaha, aren't going to be able to finish a home within that year. So you're waiting a year, 13 months, 14 months out before your home is actually being finished. So if you're thinking about, like, well, we just need to save more, by the time you save more, the house and the increase of prices of building that same house, is going to go up. You're not going to be able to save the same amount of money for the amount of appreciation that's gone up. And I will give you an example here in a minute. Because I just had a colleague come to me, and he told me in October 2020, their base price was around like $385 to $400-ish. And now he said they can't build anything similar to that compared to like this last October in 2021. That same house was getting sold for $500,000. So in just a year, right? In just a year of doing your new construction house there and waiting, there's no way you're going to be able to save, in my opinion, $100,000 strictly towards that house to make up that difference. Like, and I don't know why you would. I would lock in a rate now, and I would get locked into that, so you're not paying more for stuff as you move forward. Be careful though if you are working with a builder, because some of them have written in some addendums and some different language and some verbiage in their contracts as it relates to some of those price increases. So you want to know and understand what you're signing off on and what you're doing there, and that's again why we recommend being represented by an agent as you are buying a home with a builder. Don't work directly with a builder, but have an agent there that is going to be able to walk you through that contract so you understand and know what you're signing off on. And know what your ins and outs are as far as some price changes and things that could happen in the future there. But developers are charging more, land is increasing in value, labor materials are continuing to go up. So again, I would say be prepared for another crazy year with new construction, in my opinion, because there's no waiting until things come back down. Like, that's another myth and thing, in my opinion, that is going to happen. Like, this is the new normal in new construction. But the good thing for you is if you take advantage of this, right, you're going to be reaping the rewards later on down the road because of the continued appreciation, right, that we've been seeing with these rates going up and stuff in the past few years. So I say get in now and take advantage of that. Get locked in with a good interest rate and take advantage of that, which moves me into my last thing here. With interest rates are still very low, take advantage of it. I'm still seeing people get locked in under 3%. So again, that's crazy. And as rent continues to increase, which we're all probably seeing around us, why not start investing in yourself instead of someone else's future and asset, right? Like, again, I tell people this all the time, like, if you can make it happen, buy your own house. I got a fun little story to tell you. I just got to sell a house, help a young girl fresh out of college buy her first house. And it was so fun to see the look in her face when she closed on her home. And I thought about two things throughout this transaction. I thought about, one, how proud her parents must have been of her to be able to afford such a beautiful home at such a young age. And two, how she was dedicated and motivated to own her own place at such an early age. Like, she had worked really hard, she'd saved money, and it paid off for her. And she got into this house, we got it for her, she loves it. And now I can just think about like her future and how she set things up. Like, man, if I was able to purchase a home right when I got out of college, like what that would have done for us financially, would have changed. It would have been a game changer for so many ways and different things, as far as like just that equity and having that available. And when we would have went to sell, instead of renting for so many years, we would have had some extra money to put down or play with or pay off things as we were able to do that. But we rented, because we didn't know any different. We thought we had to have 20% down, and reality was, we could have gone in at 3% or 3.5% down. That's the crazy thing to think about. But we are just I was extremely excited for her and happy for her. And so that asset of hers will continue to increase in value, and she will be probably have more money to put down on a new house when she goes to sell than she had saved for this current one, which is awesome. And real estate and owning a home is a beautiful thing, right? Like, it's why I love what I do. I love helping people not just move into a home or sell their home, but allowing them to take the assets and the investments that they've made and then help them shuffle that around and put it where we think is best for them as it pertains to real estate, whether that's buying or selling or even investing in something. But then looking at the things long-term down the road as far as what that's going to look like for them. Like, I love doing that and helping people do that because I know it's going to set them up for success moving forward. So if you were someone is thinking about buying or selling or even investing in a home this next year, please keep us in mind. We have tons of resources for you to connect you to our trusted network of people to help you get started today. So even if you're just like, I have no clue if I could even get out of the place I'm renting and buy my house, like, reach out to us, let us know. We'd love to help you, or at least put you in touch with someone that can walk you through that process and start that process so you can kind of get going on that, so if you're capable of doing that or not. And then we love to work with people, continue to work with people who are serious about investing in real estate and reaping the rewards, the appreciation that's happening all over the country. So with that being said, guys, I hope this has kind of encouraged you and helped you and got you to think about a couple different things as we move forward in 2022, and just what that's going to do for everyone, not only here in Omaha, but here in the future. And I am really excited for 2022 and excited for my team. We continue to grow, and we continue to just make everybody's lives a lot happier and joyful and fulfilled when they get into that home that they love or sell that home that they needed to sell. So if you guys need any help, let us know. More than happy to reach out to you guys. But stay tuned. I've got a lot of great material for 2022. I've been working on a lot of different stuff, and I'm excited to continue to be more consistent with the podcast, and look forward to chatting with you guys. And if there's any topics or anything that you want me to cover moving forward, shoot me a message. I'm more than happy to cover those and to give you more knowledge and information and education on whatever that may be. So that's my goal for the podcast. I want to inform you guys, educate you guys, challenge you guys, and just keep you informed. And hopefully we've been doing that. So thanks for listening. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great one.